Liam had been dreaming about moving into his new home for months. After searching through many neighborhoods, he finally found a small, quiet area with neat houses and green lawns. It was exactly what he wanted. The streets were calm, and children played outside in the evenings. He felt a sense of peace as he unlocked the door to his new house for the first time. The walls were freshly painted, the garden was well kept, and the small porch gave the house a friendly look. Liam smiled to himself and imagined living here for many years. The first week was filled with unpacking boxes, arranging furniture, and meeting a few neighbors. Most of the neighbors were polite and welcoming. Some stopped by to say hello, and others waved from across the street. Liam liked that it felt safe and friendly. Every morning he would walk to the mailbox, check his letters, and sometimes chat with neighbors about small things like the weather or local events. Life seemed simple and calm. Then one morning, Liam opened his mailbox and found a letter that made his stomach twist. The envelope was thick and official looking. He pulled out the paper inside and began reading. His eyes widened with confusion. The letter claimed that he owed money to the neighborhood's homeowners association, or HOA. The amount was significant, and the letter said he had to pay immediately or face legal action. Liam frowned. He had never joined any HOA. No one had told him about any fees when he bought the house. In fact, when he bought the property, the realtor had clearly said there was no HOA in this neighborhood. Liam reread the letter to make sure he understood correctly. It was from a woman named Karen, who claimed to be the president of the HOA. She wrote in a formal tone, demanding payment and warning of court action. Liam felt frustrated and confused. How could someone force him to pay money he didn't owe? Instead of panicking, Liam decided to stay calm. He knew that acting angrily or carelessly could make the situation worse. First, he checked his property papers and emails from the realtor. There was no mention of any HOA. He even called the county office to confirm if the neighborhood had an official HOA registration. The clerk laughed gently and said, "There is no HOA listed for that area. Maybe someone made a mistake." Liam felt a little relieved but also annoyed. This situation was strange. Why would Karen send such a letter? The next day, Liam decided to visit Karen. He thought maybe talking in person would solve the problem quickly. He walked down the street to her house. It was painted bright yellow and had perfectly trimmed bushes. The flowers in her garden were arranged with care, showing she took pride in her home. Liam knocked on the door. After a few moments, Karen appeared. She had an expression that seemed serious and unyielding. Without greeting him properly, Karen held up the letter and said, "You need to pay what you owe. I am the president of the HOA, and we don't accept excuses. You have to pay immediately." Liam felt his patience tested. He politely replied, "I understand your concern, but I never joined any HOA. I confirmed with the county office, and there is no HOA registered for this neighborhood." Karen's face turned red, and she waved her hands in the air. "That doesn't matter. The rules are the rules. Everyone in this neighborhood must pay the fees. You can't just ignore it." Liam shook his head. He stayed calm, explaining that no legal document existed requiring him to pay anything to an HOA that had no official registration. Karen refused to listen, insisting he would see what the judge said. Liam realized that this might not be something they could solve by talking. Returning home, Liam felt a mixture of frustration and determination. He knew he had to be prepared in case Karen decided to file a lawsuit. He spent the afternoon gathering evidence. He organized property deeds, emails from the realtor, and the county confirmation stating no HOA existed. He even wrote down notes about his conversation with Karen, so he would have a clear record of what happened. That evening, Liam sat on his porch, looking at his garden under the soft glow of the sunset. The events of the day felt unreal. How could someone just make up rules and demand money from neighbors? He shook his head, thinking about the upcoming days. Liam knew that staying calm, organized, and informed was the best way to handle this unusual situation. He made a mental note to check all letters carefully, keep records, and, if necessary, face the matter in court with clear evidence. Though Liam felt tension in his chest, he also felt a spark of determination. He loved his new home and was not going to let anyone intimidate him with false claims. This was the first challenge in his new life, but he was ready to handle it. Liam closed the mailbox for the night, took a deep breath, and promised himself he would face whatever came next with patience and clarity. The next morning, Liam woke up early with determination. He knew he could not ignore Karen's claims any longer. He wanted to understand why she was so sure that he owed money and why she believed she could enforce rules for a neighborhood that legally had no HOA. Liam prepared himself to talk to her again, but this time, he wanted to remain calm and polite. He walked down the street carrying a folder with all his documents. He checked his reflection in a neighbor's car window and took a deep breath. When he reached Karen's bright yellow house, she was already outside, trimming the hedges along the sidewalk. She looked up and immediately frowned at him. "Back again," she said sharply. "I hope you brought the money this time." Liam smiled politely and said, "I came to talk, not to pay. I want to understand this situation. I have confirmed that there is no registered HOA for this neighborhood. I also have all the documents that prove this." Karen shook her head and waved her hand. "It doesn't matter. You will pay the fees because everyone must. You cannot ignore the rules. I am in charge here." Liam took a step closer and showed her the folder. "Here is the property deed for my house. It clearly states there is no HOA. I also called the county office, and they confirmed there is no HOA registered for this neighborhood. I am willing to talk calmly, but I cannot pay fees for something that does not exist legally." Karen's face turned red, and she frowned even more. "You think you can just ignore the rules because you want to? Everyone else pays. Why should you be different?" Liam stayed calm. He knew that arguing angrily would not help. "I am not trying to be different. I am following the law and the documents that exist. If there were an official HOA, I would respect it. But right now, there is no legal basis for this. I want to resolve this calmly and fairly." Karen laughed bitterly. "You will see. If you do not pay, I will take you to court. Then the judge will decide." Liam nodded. "If that is the next step, I will be ready. I have all the documents and evidence to show the truth. I do not want conflict, but I am prepared to defend my rights." Karen stared at him for a moment, her hands on her hips. She seemed surprised by his calmness. Most people she tried to intimidate would leave or argue angrily. Liam's calm and polite attitude seemed to confuse her. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but Liam continued. "I would also like to suggest something," he said softly. "Instead of threatening or demanding money, we could sit down and look at the facts together. If we find that I owe something, I will pay. But until then, I cannot give money for a neighborhood organization that legally does not exist." Karen frowned and muttered something under her breath, clearly annoyed. Liam smiled and stepped back. "I hope we can resolve this without any trouble. I am willing to discuss this calmly at any time." Karen did not answer. She waved him away and returned to her hedge trimming. Liam walked back to his house, feeling a mixture of relief and worry. He had spoken his truth and remained calm, but he knew that Karen might still file a lawsuit. The thought made him anxious, but he reminded himself that he was prepared. Back at his house, Liam organized all the documents he had collected. He created a folder with the property deed, emails from the realtor, and the confirmation letter from the county office. He even wrote down a timeline of events, including the dates he received the letter and spoke to Karen. Liam wanted to be fully ready in case this went to court. That afternoon, Liam decided to talk to other neighbors to see if anyone else had experienced a similar situation. He walked to the house next door and knocked. A friendly-looking woman named Maria answered. Liam explained the situation calmly. Maria nodded and said, "Oh, Karen likes to control everything in this neighborhood. She has tried to collect money from people before, even though there is no HOA. Most people just ignore her, but it seems she has decided to pick you this time." Liam thanked her and continued speaking with a few other neighbors. Many of them confirmed Maria's story. Some laughed quietly and said they had ignored Karen's demands for years. Liam realized he was not alone in dealing with her, but he also understood that standing up for himself would be necessary. As evening approached, Liam sat on his porch, looking at the soft sunlight on the street. The neighborhood seemed peaceful, but he knew the situation with Karen could become complicated. He took a deep breath and reminded himself that staying calm, organized, and respectful would be the best way to handle it. That night, Liam felt a sense of quiet determination. He knew this confrontation was only the beginning, but he was ready to face whatever came next. His new home was worth protecting, and he would not let false claims ruin his peace. He promised himself to be careful, to keep records of every interaction, and to approach the situation with patience. Liam finally went to bed feeling prepared. The challenge with Karen would not be easy, but he was confident in his ability to handle it. He knew that standing up for the truth was important, and he was determined to do so without anger or fear. Liam spent the next morning going through his documents carefully. He wanted to be fully prepared in case Karen actually filed a lawsuit. He knew that staying organized and calm would be very important. He gathered his property deed, the emails from the realtor, and the confirmation letter from the county office. He also wrote down every conversation he had with Karen, including the dates and what was said. He labeled everything neatly in folders so he could find it easily. After arranging the documents, Liam thought about the next steps. He decided to research the legal process for defending himself. He read about how cases like this could go to court, what evidence was required, and what to expect during a hearing. The more he read, the more confident he became. He realized that knowledge would be his strongest tool. Knowing the rules and having proof could protect him from any false claims. Liam also talked to his friend Sam, who had experience with legal matters. Sam advised him to remain calm, polite, and professional no matter what Karen said. He told Liam, "Do not let her anger you or make you nervous. Just stick to the facts and show the judge the truth." Liam appreciated the advice. He practiced explaining the situation clearly and calmly, imagining what he would say if the case went to court. While preparing, Liam also took time to observe the neighborhood. He noticed how people interacted and thought about speaking to neighbors for additional support. Some neighbors had quietly ignored Karen's previous claims, but Liam wanted to make sure he had witnesses who could confirm that no HOA existed officially. He walked from house to house, asking politely if anyone knew about the HOA or if they had received similar letters. Many nodded and said they had never joined any HOA either. Some laughed and said Karen liked to control things in the neighborhood, but they never took her seriously. Liam made notes of their statements, feeling more reassured. During these days, Karen did not stop sending small reminders or letters demanding payment. Liam kept each one carefully in his folder. He knew that showing the judge a pattern of her claims could help prove that her HOA had no legal basis. Every letter he received was scanned, dated, and stored. Liam also wrote a few polite responses to keep a clear record of his communication. He stayed calm, never raising his voice or using angry words. Liam also practiced imagining the courtroom. He pictured himself standing before a judge, calmly explaining the situation with the documents in hand. He imagined Karen trying to insist she had authority and how he could respond respectfully. He wanted to be ready for any question the judge might ask. Preparing mentally helped Liam feel less nervous and more confident. One afternoon, Liam met with a local lawyer just to get advice. The lawyer listened carefully to the story, reviewed Liam's documents, and nodded. You are very organized, the lawyer said. If this goes to court, the judge will see the evidence clearly. You are doing everything right by staying calm and keeping records. Liam felt relieved. Having professional confirmation of his preparation gave him more confidence. Evenings were spent quietly in his house, reviewing papers and thinking through each step. Liam realized that this challenge was not just about money. It was about standing up for the truth and protecting his rights. He reminded himself that remaining polite and factual would make the biggest difference. Anger or panic would only make things more difficult. During these days, Liam also found small ways to relax. He watered his garden, took short walks around the neighborhood, and read books to keep his mind focused but calm. Preparing for court was stressful, but he knew he needed clear thinking and patience. Each day, he felt more confident in his ability to face Karen's false claims. By the end of the week, Liam's folder was complete. He had organized every piece of evidence, documented every conversation, and noted every interaction with Karen. He felt ready. He knew that if the case went to court, he could show the judge clearly that no HOA existed, that Karen had no legal authority, and that he had been calm and cooperative throughout the situation. On Friday evening, Liam sat on his porch and looked at the quiet street. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the houses. He felt a mix of nervousness and determination. The challenge was not over, but he was ready. He had prepared carefully, stayed calm, and gathered strong evidence. No matter what happened next, Liam knew he had done everything he could to protect his home and his peace of mind. That night, Liam went to bed feeling strong. The confrontation with Karen was coming closer, but he was ready. He knew that the truth and preparation were on his side, and he would face the next steps with confidence and calmness. He closed his eyes, ready to face whatever the following week would bring. The day finally arrived for Liam to face Karen in court. He woke up early, feeling a mix of nervousness and determination. He dressed neatly in a shirt and trousers, making sure he looked respectful and confident. He took his folder with all the organized documents and evidence and reviewed it one more time. Every paper, every email, and every note about his conversations with Karen was in order. Liam drove carefully to the courthouse. The building was large and old, with tall columns and wide steps. People were walking in and out, some in suits, some in casual clothes. Liam felt a little nervous as he approached the courtroom door. He took a deep breath and reminded himself that he was prepared and calm. Inside, the courtroom was quiet and formal. Wooden benches lined the room, and a large desk stood at the front where the judge would sit. Karen was already there, looking confident and speaking to the court clerk. Liam noticed her bright yellow folder on the desk. She seemed ready to insist she had authority over the neighborhood. Liam took a deep breath and focused on the facts he had prepared. When the judge entered, everyone stood. The judge was a tall woman with kind eyes and a serious expression. She nodded at the people in the room and then sat down. Everyone sat quietly, waiting for the proceedings to begin. The judge asked Karen to explain her case first. Karen stood up and spoke quickly. "Your Honor, this man owes money to the neighborhood HOA. He has refused to pay, and he must be held responsible. The HOA rules require everyone to contribute fees. I am the president, and the rules apply to everyone." The judge listened carefully, her expression calm but attentive. She asked Karen, "Can you show me official registration documents for this HOA?" Karen shuffled through her folder. Her confident expression faltered. She spoke quickly and nervously. "I have a record of all the members and fees collected. That is enough to show it exists." The judge raised an eyebrow. "This is not enough. You must show legal registration with the county. Without it, the HOA has no legal authority to demand fees from property owners." Karen looked flustered. Liam stayed calm and waited for his turn. He knew the evidence in his folder would speak for itself. The judge asked him to present his documents. Liam stood and approached the bench politely, placing his folder in front of her. "Your Honor," Liam said clearly, "I have all the documents showing that there is no HOA registered for my property or this neighborhood. Here is the property deed for my home. Here are emails from my realtor confirming there was no HOA when I purchased the property. And here is a letter from the county office stating no HOA exists in this area. I have also documented all communication with Karen regarding her demands." The judge looked through the papers carefully. She nodded as she read each one, flipping through the emails and official letters. She then looked up at Karen. "Do you have any registration or legal documents showing this HOA is officially recognized by the county?" Karen hesitated. She shuffled her papers again and finally admitted, I do not have registration. I created the HOA myself and sent letters to the neighbors." The courtroom was silent. The judge looked at Karen with a serious expression. "An HOA that is not legally registered has no authority to demand fees or take legal action. Without official recognition, this HOA cannot enforce rules against property owners." Liam felt a mixture of relief and satisfaction. He had prepared well, remained calm, and now the judge was reviewing the facts clearly. Karen looked shocked, her confident demeanor completely gone. The judge turned back to Liam. "You have presented clear evidence. The law supports your position. No fees are owed to this unregistered HOA, and it cannot take any action against you." Liam nodded respectfully, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. The judge then addressed Karen. "The HOA you created has no legal standing. You cannot continue to demand money from residents. I am officially dissolving this HOA effective immediately. Any attempts to enforce it in the future will be considered harassment and may have legal consequences." Karen opened her mouth, but the judge did not give her a chance to argue further. She simply nodded firmly and said, "This case is concluded." Liam returned to his seat, feeling a deep sense of relief and accomplishment. He had stayed calm and organized, and now the court had confirmed the truth. Karen packed her papers slowly, looking stunned and defeated. Liam knew this experience had been a challenge, but he had handled it well. As the courtroom emptied, Liam shook hands with a few neighbors who had come to support him. They congratulated him quietly, smiling at the unusual situation that had unfolded. Liam felt proud of his calmness, preparation, and persistence. He knew that standing up for what was right had made the difference. Outside the courthouse, the sun was shining brightly. Liam took a deep breath of fresh air. The tension of the past week seemed to melt away. He had faced the confrontation, prepared carefully, and now had the judge's decision confirming he was not obligated to pay anything to Karen's unregistered HOA. Walking back to his car, Liam felt a strong sense of peace. He knew this was only one challenge in his life, but it had taught him the value of preparation, calmness, and standing up for the truth. Liam smiled, ready to return home and enjoy his new life in his neighborhood, free from false claims and unnecessary stress. After the courtroom drama, Liam walked slowly back to his car, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. The sun shone warmly, and the streets of the neighborhood seemed unusually peaceful. He looked around at the neat houses, the green lawns, and the children playing in the distance. The world felt calm again, as if the tension caused by Karen's letters had disappeared. On his way home, Liam noticed a few neighbors stepping outside, curious about the courthouse visit. Some waved at him, smiling quietly, and a few gave him a thumbs up. Liam waved back, feeling grateful for their silent support. Even though they had not spoken much before, it seemed the news about Karen's failed attempt had spread quickly. Back at his house, Liam placed his folder on the table and sat down. The weight of preparation, confrontation, and the courtroom experience settled in. He realized how stressful the past weeks had been, but he also felt proud. He had stayed calm, prepared carefully, and followed the law. All his patience had paid off. That evening, Liam decided to check on Karen's house. From a distance, He could see her arranging flowers in the garden. Her usual confident posture was missing. She seemed quieter, more reserved. Liam understood that the court's decision had affected her deeply. For the first time, she could not use her letters or her claims to control anyone in the neighborhood. Liam felt a small sense of satisfaction, but he did not gloat. He knew it was enough to let the truth stand. Later that week, Liam received small gestures from neighbors who had observed the case. Maria, the neighbor he had spoken to earlier, knocked on his door with a plate of homemade cookies. "Congratulations, Liam," she said warmly. "It is nice to see someone handle this calmly. You have shown that standing up for yourself is important." Liam thanked her sincerely. He felt a growing sense of community in the neighborhood, as if this experience had connected him more to the people around him. Other neighbors also stopped by to share their experiences. They spoke quietly about how Karen had tried similar tactics in the past, but most residents had ignored her. Liam listened carefully and realized that, by staying calm and following the rules, he had set an example for everyone. People seemed inspired by his approach. Even Karen's demeanor changed slightly after the court ruling. She no longer waved letters or made demands to neighbors. She remained in her bright yellow house, tending to her garden, but she appeared quieter and less confrontational. Liam noticed the change but chose to focus on his own life and peace. He understood that some people would always try to control situations, but truth and patience were more powerful than intimidation. Liam spent the next few days settling fully into his home. He repaired small things in the garden, hung pictures on the walls, and arranged his furniture. Every small task made the house feel more like home. He no longer felt the tension of Karen's letters hanging over him. Instead, he enjoyed the quiet sounds of the neighborhood and the friendly waves from neighbors walking by. One afternoon, Liam met a group of neighbors on the street. They laughed together about small events in the neighborhood and shared stories from the past. Liam realized that Karen's false claims had, in a strange way, brought some people closer. They had a new respect for honesty, preparation, and patience. Liam felt proud not only for defending himself but also for inspiring a small sense of community spirit. As days passed, Liam noticed that children played freely in the street, neighbors chatted openly, and the neighborhood seemed more relaxed than before. Karen continued to care for her house quietly, but she no longer caused tension. Liam understood that the court ruling had changed the dynamic. Truth and legality had the final word. One evening, Liam sat on his porch with a cup of tea. The sky was painted in soft shades of orange and pink. He reflected on the past few weeks. From the first confusing letter to the courtroom confrontation, every step had been challenging. But he had learned important lessons about patience, preparation, and calmness. Standing up for oneself did not mean being rude or angry, it meant being organized, honest, and confident. Liam smiled as he watched a neighbor walk by, waving politely. For the first time, he felt that his new house was truly his home. No false claims, no intimidation, and no unnecessary stress would ruin the peace he had worked to create. The experience with Karen was over, and the neighborhood felt safer and calmer. Before heading inside for the night, Liam made one last note in his journal. He wrote about the lessons he had learned, the importance of preparation, and the value of staying calm in the face of unfair claims. He felt satisfied and proud. This challenge had tested him, but it had also strengthened him. Liam closed his journal, stood up, and took a deep breath. The night was quiet, and for the first time in weeks, he felt completely at peace in his new home. After the courtroom victory, Liam's life slowly returned to a sense of normalcy. The letters stopped, the threats ended, and the neighborhood seemed calmer. Liam spent more time enjoying his home and the quiet streets. But he also remained aware that Karen still lived nearby. He knew she might try something again, so he stayed alert, organized, and polite. Karen, meanwhile, spent the days after the court case in her bright yellow house, tending to her garden and arranging flowers. She rarely came outside to speak to neighbors. The court's decision had clearly affected her. She could no longer enforce rules or demand fees, and the HOA she had created was officially dissolved. Karen seemed quieter, almost reflective, and the neighborhood noticed the change. One morning, Liam saw Karen walking slowly along the street, carrying a basket of flowers. She stopped in front of his house and nodded politely. Liam returned the nod with a smile. It was a small gesture, but it showed a new understanding. Karen no longer seemed interested in confrontation. Liam realized that the court's ruling had not only protected him but had also reminded everyone that fairness and truth mattered. Liam also noticed other neighbors acting more openly. They smiled, waved, and even started small conversations with him. Maria, the neighbor who had first shared her experiences about Karen, invited Liam to a small neighborhood gathering. "It is nice to see people enjoying their homes without fear," she said. "You handled everything very calmly. It has made a difference." Liam accepted the invitation, happy to connect more with the community. During the gathering, neighbors shared stories of the past weeks. Some spoke quietly about Karen's previous attempts to collect fees, while others laughed at how unusual the situation had become. Liam listened and realized that by handling the situation with patience and evidence, he had shown an example of calmness and fairness. People seemed inspired to act politely and honestly, even when facing difficult situations. Karen remained in her house during the gathering. Liam noticed her looking out the window, watching quietly. She did not intervene or attempt to send letters. Liam understood that this was her way of accepting the court's decision. She had lost the ability to control or intimidate, and she seemed to understand that the neighborhood would no longer follow her demands. Liam also took this time to reflect on what he had learned. He realized that staying calm, collecting evidence, and respecting the law were powerful tools. Anger or frustration would have made the situation worse, but patience and preparation had led to a fair resolution. Liam felt proud of himself, not because he had won against Karen, but because he had handled the challenge responsibly. Over the next few days, Liam focused on improving his home and garden. He planted new flowers, cleaned the small porch, and even painted a fence to make it look brighter. Every task gave him a sense of accomplishment and peace. He realized that the home he had dreamed of was finally a place of safety and comfort. One afternoon, Liam received a small note in his mailbox. It was from Karen. She had written a simple message: "Thank you for handling the situation calmly. I understand now." Liam smiled as he read it. He felt a sense of closure. The note was brief, but it showed that Karen had recognized the fairness of the court's decision and Liam's approach. Neighbors continued to interact more openly. Children played outside, people walked their dogs, and neighbors began small conversations along the streets. Liam noticed how peaceful the neighborhood had become. The tension that had been caused by Karen's false claims had completely disappeared. Liam also reflected on the lessons he had learned. He knew that in life, challenges could come from unexpected places. Some people might try to take advantage, but staying calm, organized, and respectful could lead to the right outcome. Liam felt stronger, wiser, and more confident in facing future challenges. One evening, Liam sat on his porch with a warm cup of tea. The sun was setting, and the sky was painted in soft colors. He looked at the quiet street and smiled. Karen's HOA had been dissolved, the neighbors were happy, and his home was peaceful. He realized that standing up for truth and fairness was not only about winning but about creating a safe and honest environment for everyone. As the neighborhood lights began to glow softly, Liam felt a sense of accomplishment and relief. He had faced the challenge with patience, preparation, and calmness. The court had confirmed the truth, and the community had regained its peace. Liam knew that his home was now truly his sanctuary, and he could enjoy life without unnecessary stress or fear. Liam closed his eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. The challenge with Karen had ended, but the lessons would stay with him forever. He had learned the importance of patience, preparation, and calmness. He had learned that truth and fairness would always prevail, and he felt grateful for the support of the neighbors and his own careful approach. The weeks following the courtroom victory were peaceful for Liam. The tension that had filled the neighborhood vanished, and life returned to its calm and friendly rhythm. Liam's home finally felt like the sanctuary he had hoped for when he first moved in. Every morning, he enjoyed the soft sunlight filtering through his windows and the quiet sounds of the neighborhood waking up. Liam took the time to enjoy the small pleasures of his new life. He watered the garden, trimmed the bushes, and planted flowers that added bright colors along the walkway. Each task reminded him of how much he had grown during the past weeks. The struggle with Karen had taught him patience, preparation, and the power of staying calm in difficult situations. Now, he could focus fully on creating a home filled with comfort and happiness. Neighbors began to approach Liam more openly. Maria stopped by frequently to chat about small things, like recipes or local events. Other neighbors waved or came by for short conversations, sharing stories about their families or plans for the neighborhood. Liam felt connected to the people around him in a way he had not before. The situation with Karen, as stressful as it had been, had unexpectedly brought some people closer. Even Karen had changed. She no longer sent letters, made demands, or tried to control the neighborhood. Liam sometimes saw her tending her bright yellow garden or arranging flowers on her porch. While she still kept mostly to herself, there was no longer tension or conflict. Liam understood that the court's decision had made a difference, and he respected that everyone had a right to live peacefully, even if their personalities were very different. One Saturday afternoon, Liam decided to host a small gathering in his backyard. He invited the neighbors who had supported him, along with a few others he had met over the past weeks. People arrived with warm smiles, bringing snacks and drinks. The atmosphere was cheerful and relaxed. Liam watched as children played on the grass, neighbors chatted, and the sunlight reflected off the flowers in his garden. It felt like a celebration of community and peace. During the gathering, Liam spoke quietly to Maria. "It is nice to see everyone getting along. I never expected that this situation would end with us all feeling closer." Maria smiled. "You showed everyone how to handle challenges calmly. People respect that. Your approach made a difference." Liam nodded, feeling proud but humble. He knew it had not been about winning or defeating anyone. It had been about standing up for what was right while remaining respectful. Even in his daily routine, Liam noticed the changes around him. The neighborhood streets were filled with laughter and friendly conversations. People walked their dogs, children rode bicycles, and neighbors waved at each other without hesitation. Liam felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing that he had helped maintain a peaceful environment. His home, once filled with worry over letters and demands, was now a place of comfort and joy. One evening, Liam sat on his porch, watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink. He thought about the weeks that had passed: the confusing letter, the confrontation, the preparation, and the courtroom victory. Every step had been a challenge, but he had grown stronger and more confident. Liam realized that facing difficulties with patience and evidence was far more effective than reacting with anger or fear. Liam also reflected on what he had learned about people. Some might try to control or intimidate, but truth, fairness, and calmness were more powerful than threats. Karen's attempt to create an HOA and demand money had failed, not because of luck, but because Liam had acted thoughtfully, respectfully, and with careful preparation. He understood that handling challenges responsibly could influence not just his life but the lives of those around him. As night fell, the neighborhood grew quiet and peaceful. Lights glowed softly in the houses along the street, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves in the trees. Liam felt a strong sense of security and contentment. He had faced an unexpected challenge, protected his home, and helped ensure peace for his neighbors. Liam knew that life would bring new challenges in the future, but he also knew that he had learned valuable lessons about preparation, calmness, and standing up for truth. He could handle obstacles with confidence and clarity. His home was now truly a safe and happy place, filled with warmth and positive energy. Before going inside for the night, Liam made one final walk around his property. He looked at the garden, the clean walkway, and the small porch that now felt welcoming. Everything seemed in perfect order. He took a deep breath, enjoying the peacefulness of the evening. The challenge with Karen was over, and he could finally enjoy the neighborhood and his home without worry. As Liam closed the door and stepped inside, he smiled to himself. The weeks of stress, preparation, and confrontation had come to an end. His home was safe, the neighbors were happy, and the false HOA no longer existed. Liam knew he had not only protected his property but also strengthened the sense of community around him. Liam sat in his favorite chair, feeling calm and satisfied. He realized that peace, patience, and preparation were the greatest tools anyone could have. He closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the quiet of the night. The neighborhood was peaceful, and so was he. Liam had moved on, and life in his home was finally everything he had hoped it would be.